Oh my god, I fixed it. We've had bad FPS all freaking day. Just to get my second PC on as a solution to actually be a fix. Alright guys, sorry for the weird intro. I apologize. We've had FPS issues all day, so I was just trying to get them fixed for this big, important best of 5 qualifying match for the DreamHack Last Chance tournament. As in the top left-hand side, our blue Terran player is Clem, taking on our red Zerg bottom right, Reynor. Alright. Let's get this ready to go. I'm amazed that I just found a way to fix it just like that, guys. I wonder if I should still just use my second screen, though. Actually, it's still just so smooth on the other computer. I guess that's just not using, that's just not streaming from the same PC as the game is running from. StarCraft's a weird game where it's so old that it kind of kills itself when it tries to run and stuff, you know? FPS will drop here for a sec while I just fix the stream title. But it's that kind of weird thing where like it hurts itself because there's like this, it struggles to run optimally. Man, seeing how smooth it is on my second PC right now makes me kind of want to play with it a little bit. Alright. No worries. Let's get into this then. Just a marine-focused opening, and they're going to get rid of the first initial Ling, and that's actually kind of nice, as the factory will move over to reactor, so we will get that going in a few moments anyways. That will still kind of come on through. We'll see an armory from Clem. Wow, so he's actually going to play an armory here on Curious Minds. Short map, typically the Terran's map picks are kind of weird for him to be like, oh yeah, I'm going to play like Hellbats on this map. Usually you would, you know, hold Hellbats for different maps, but just maybe likes how quickly it can show up and how quickly it can work. Is just going to be seen now. Roachroaring is on the way in from Reynor. Well, that's the perfect setup to deal with these Hellbats. I mean, Marines right now being seen moving across. And these few Marines cause some chaos. Roachroaring obviously is not done just yet. Just going to be seeing these Marines. I mean, a couple of Queens here. Probably enough to hold this off. This is a very fast attack. I mean, Roaches are not going to be ready. Hellbats are already morphing in. It's like the fastest Hellbats you can do. It's no starport. And it is just going to be still the one racks behind this as we have Stim on the way. This actually might be kind of nice, because now you've just got the Hellbats to buffer for the initial Marines, which can do pretty well, because there's no Zerglings. Queen's taking some hits. What's that energy like? Nowhere near a transfusion. So first Queen going down. And yeah, it's an investment from Clem, but he still starts a 4-minute third base. Love this little build. And this works on this map especially well because it is a small map, so it is all about just walking these Marines across the other side. And I love that these Hellions just stay as Hellions, and they're just going to run by for drones. They're going to keep their mobility. All the drones are in the main base because they pulled away from the natural, away from Hellbats before. And now you're just going to get yourself 5 drones on the top of this. Okay, you lose your initial Hellions, but there's Roaches on the map, and you're just going to be going into a tank anyway, so you're going to be pretty safe. I like it a lot. Alright, well, bunker is just going to go down in the wall off as we do have ourselves a second bunker behind as well. So just setting that up. A couple of refineries still coming through. As we get those rolling, just going to see these gases still coming up, and our Roaches will continue now down to the other side of the map. So they're moving away to the other side. Bunker is there and tank is up, so they're not going to do much on the counter. I like it a lot from Clem. Now, the only net downside here is he really gives up a lot of his initial map control, right? So now you don't have a lot of your map control, and that's going to suck a little bit because it means that this creep is not going to be able to keep on pushing on the... sorry, this creep is going to be able to keep on pushing on the map, and you're not going to be able to do too much about that right away. So that's definitely going to be a little bit of an issue. It's going to be seeing our combat shields coming through and just having a couple of engineering bays continuing up as well. And combat shields just coming in. Evolution chambers now completing. +1 missiles, and what else are we going to start here right now? What else are we going to do? A carapace upgrade as well. Just getting up and rolling. There's a couple of extractors going to be finishing, and these are just going to go down to the bottom side. So yeah, missiles and carapace. We are going to play the Roaches thoroughly through into the mid game here, so that's going to be coming on in as we get ourselves. It should be a fun little fight, right? I mean, this should be a fun little setup for sure. There's definitely some potential in this. It's just going to be seen now. Marine making its way over that far right-hand side. Obviously trying to scout if there's a fourth base, or even if there is one, where it would be. I mean, it's going to come in on this side, so the Marine is well placed, but Queens are already moving over. Good awareness of Reynor just to clean out the base before we try and put a drone on it, so yeah, just a nice little play there from him. The little things go a long way in these situations. You know, going into this series, I kind of lost my intro and my kind of initial speech because obviously I was busy messing around and fixing the FPS, which was amazing to fix at least. I'm very glad we got that done. But I missed my intro speech where I was going to tell you guys a little bit about how obviously Clem has not been having a good run against Reynor as of late. He is struggling on this map pool and definitely seems to be having a tough time. Now, I will say, Clem, the other day, if you didn't see the Alima League, well, put your spoiler emotes on in the Alima League Best of 11 Korea versus Europe matches. Spoilers coming right now. Clem did look a bit better in TVZ, so he took down Dark and he took down Rogue and a couple best of ones and looked very good doing so. So maybe feeling a little bit better in TVZ again. I also feel like Dark and Rogue didn't play their best games either, so it'll be cool to see really today against Reynor just how good he is looking and if he can qualify through the upper bracket without having to go down to the lower bracket, of course. Good amount of creep spread being picked off here as well, as we are just going to be seeing our Roaches and Ravagers moving forward. Just going to be seeing Marine getting picked off, and the Hive from Reynor is building in the main base. So bringing this up as well. As otherwise, we do just see our units making their way around that left-hand side. But looks like we're not even going to continue with that for now. We're going to back away from that as well. And just hold out for the moment. Now, 1-1 kind of comes and goes. It's going to be seeing a few Marines stimming through, and Roach is going to grab a lone Marine already. Roach Ravager just setting up, and just again, 2-2 upgrades, couple tanks coming in, 2-2 missile upgrades coming through, and a Hydra Den also on the way down on that bottom side. 3 Roaches are going to grab a couple Marines, and just going to see the Bioforce coming back around once more. Roaches and Ravagers are going to come from 2 angles and just going to go for a little bit of a collapse in on these siege tanks. A lot of tanks taking a lot of damage. I mean, it's a full surround from Reynor, which is really good, but I mean, you're still taking the full force of these tanks throughout the fight, right? So, oh man, look at those Roaches melting at the end here as well. Honestly, I think it was still going well for Reynor, but at the very end, that was obviously not good. It got to a stage there which was just not good enough. And that definitely does hurt towards the end, for sure. Just going to be seeing still then the continuation of this as we have got our units out on the right-hand side. I'm going to move up once more towards the watchtower. Tanks will siege, and Reynor is back away yesterday because he's going to lose Roaches here, no doubt about it. And Clem just stemming in, and off the back of that initial Roach, tank damage, he's able to pick up a whole bundle of kills. So Clem really turning this force around. And this is a big map for Clem. I think he needs to win Curious Minds. He's not been winning Curious Minds against Reynor much lately, but if he does, it just gives him that little bit of an edge, taking a map which is his map pick, and I feel like it is one of the big issues he's had in these series as of late. Like I say, just not being able to take the maps which are his own definitely runs you into trouble when the Zerg map picks, such as like, Glitter and Ashes and so on, can be tough to win on at the moment. Well, Reynor's on his way to a Lurker Den. The good news for Clem is I always like it when you've already got this amount of tanks up and running when Lurkers come onto the map for the first time. Especially when it's going to be Lurker Roach for a while. And you can see Ling Speeders on the way. We are going to transition through to Lings and potentially Banes as well. And just use those as the support and the buffer for the Lurkers. That's when tanks become less effective. But it means you've got a good amount of time where tanks are going to be very effective. And they're going to really be able to cover you against... Yeah, they're going to really be able to cover you against kind of your transition until you get to go. So the first round of Roaches and Hydra and Lurkers, god damn, I'm just all over the place, can't talk at all. And right now, Clem's just pushing with these tanks as well. So even until Lurkers are out, this is going to be difficult. Medivacs need a boost back. I was going to say the Biles could have been massive there as the Medivacs were stacking up. Just going to be seeing a couple corrosive Biles continue to come through, and just going to be seeing our hatchery continue to take some damage. Bioforce continuing to work on this, and this hatch is going to fall. So he gets the right-hand side. Tanks moving forward a little bit again. Now these first lurkers are burrowing, but they don't even have seismic spines yet. So without the range, these lurkers are nowhere near as good as they want to be. And Clem says, I can fight this. The full energy Viper is not doing anything. Probably could have put a blinding cloud down to help at least a little bit. Clem's just absolutely overrun. That fight on the upper side really did just wipe the floor. And this is just going to reset Reynor to not enough to kind of get into lurkers with. GG's, Clem does get that big map win. Sorry for fumbling my words a bit towards the last minute or so. That's Ashes. Are we surprised? No, I don't think we are surprised. As we jump into this one, in the bottom left corner, our red Zerg player will be down a game. It is Reynor. Big map. It's kind of the go-to pick right now. Like I say, really not too surprising or anything. Let's get this started up. Top right, our blue Terran player from Team Liquid is Clem. Just one moment to fix something quickly, my friends. Awesome. So, as we get this underway, and we see how Clem will try and play out Glitter and Ashes. Big map. Again, that's kind of the reason we expected this to be the choice. We weren't really surprised by it. This is the map which you need to kind of win as the Zerg player. As the Terran wants to win Curious Minds, the Zerg wants to win Glittering. It's just tough because it's so freaking big, and with the size of it, it's just tough to play kind of a longer game on. So a lot of people do kind of like to play something aggressive on this map, and sometimes they mix in the Hellbats this time. But one thing as well is that if you do play a long game on this, the good news is there's a lot of chokes and ledges, so you can kind of play around that for some stronger pushes. It's just those stronger pushes, even if they do good damage, you can't quite follow up and end the game sometimes, even if you're putting yourself into a really good position. And that is usually the biggest issue, and that is usually why I think Glittering is a very difficult map to play on, and why, you know, sometimes a lot of problems come around. So if you head down to the south, as the Reaper is going to be popping out in a moment from Clem, and going to be rallying across. Obviously just picking up some early information. We're only a couple minutes in here so far, so nothing too crazy just yet. As the Reaper goes all the way out down to the bottom side of the map. On a heck of a journey to go and figure out what's going on. And obviously, first of all, try and beat up a drone. Lings will play the back and forth game a little bit. You don't have to wait very long for Queen on Glitter and Ashes, because it just takes the Reaper to get, you know, so long to get here initially anyway. Gonna go for back and forth a little bit, and just gonna be seeing now a couple of Queens pushing the Reaper around. Oh, the game not really too distinct or too meaningful one way or the other. And hey, thank you very much, Soren Sen, for the fresh new Prime sub. Appreciate the sub. Thank you very much. The link speed is continuing through in that spawning pool. I'm just gonna be seeing a couple of additional Hellions continuing out as well. I'm playing the 3cc with one gas. Takes the second gas behind this. Again, just a lot of the expectations just being filled right now, and really not kind of ending up being too surprised about any of this. This is kind of just how these games go. How is Clem's TVZ different than Hero Marines? But, I mean, they play completely different styles. Clem plays quick and aggressive, and Hero Marine plays a lot more kind of, I mean, their styles in general are just very different. Clem plays a lot more kind of quick, feisty, aggressive all over the map. Hero Marine usually plays for kind of specific timings and single moments. I think TVZ very much so is much more of a mechanics-focused matchup than it is a strategic matchup. And where Hero Marine shines strategically in TVT and TVP, he doesn't shine as much mechanically compared to, like, Clem in this matchup, right? So I think that's the big difference, is this matchup just relies so much on mechanics, so much about being everywhere. It's, yeah, what Clem can do, because he is able to play so quick and he's so good at that mechanical kind of stage of the game, he is just able to force the game to go certain ways as well, which it kind of feels like a different matchup then at that stage. So it's yeah, it's definitely kind of just how different matchups play in general, which is one of the beautiful things about StarCraft, right? It's, you know, you don't just have to be good at one thing in StarCraft. You can make a career out of being good at different things. You know, we've had players who have made careers off micro. We've had players who've made careers off crazy strategies. I mean, StarCraft is wonderful for that reason alone in my eyes. It's just so fascinating to have players who have, you know, styles and, you know kind of what they're going to do. You kind of know them a bunch. These Hellions just walk through these rocks? Are they not meant to be like a wall? Am I crazy? I feel like he literally just walked through these rocks. I've never seen that before. Is that a known bug? Okay, quickly talk about this build. With the Raven, Clem wants to go to a lot of Hellions, and with these Hellions he wants to A, clean out creep, but it also allows him to fight Queens a little bit, because he's got A, a lot of Hellions, and B, the auto turrets to back him up, and that's going to be his plan here. So he can auto turret and fight the Queens a little bit, and try and bring out some transfusions already. The auto turret's going to take the brunt of the damage here as well, so the Hellions aren't taking as many of the shots from the Queens, and that obviously just helps them to justify moving around. I like that he left these creep teamers for later and got the bottom ones first. The bottom ones were going to be more difficult to get, so he gets the more difficult creep teamers first before there's a response, and then he gets the easier to grab ones that are pretty much a guarantee at any point with Hellions and Ravens on the map. Yeah, this is bad though. Obviously no Hellions at all left at home, and that means that these Lings just going to do so much. One thing that's been very notable the last few days from Reynor is that his freaking Ling counterattacks have been deadly again. A lot of these Lings just hitting at perfect timings to just punish a Terran for being on the map, and such few Lings can just find so much. 6 SCVs, no mining on the third for a while, killing some Marines as well. I was going to see how Hellions coming back around as Marines are going to fight. Lings continue to come on through and just going to be continuing to fight this. Marines will continue to trade out as the SCVs will turn back around. Okay, at least this time he cleaned it up a little bit better. When Clem played Rogue, he actually had a good... he basically defended a lot of the run-bys very well, and just Rogue over-traded into those run-bys. Obviously, that was bad trades, and that kind of led to Clem then just being able to push across the map and finish him. And that was a pretty cool kind of factor, as... Well, the drones is going down. Auto turret at the back, and Medevac's just unloading. Well, drones dropping Marines back into the center. A couple of creep tumors are going to fall as well, and quite a lot of this creep being cleared out here as the Lings will run forward. Oh, Widowmine shot hits the Queens, but that's nothing that a few transfusions can't fix again. I was just going to be seeing our Marines back up to the high ground. Strong close coming through. +2 armor and now +2 attack, both on the way. Still keeping the creep back. I gotta say, Clem's doing a fantastic job against the creep, as he kind of should be, having opened the Raven. So that's really nice, because it really does a lot for you, and these auto turrets are now causing drones to miss out on mining time as well. Not enough Marines here to probably get a cancel on this hatchery, but he's keeping bases open, because he's got these drops doing so well clearing out creep. That's definitely pretty awesome. And now, now you've got an armory up. Now these Hellions can join in as Hellbats, and they can really threaten the front lines a little bit as well, as Queens are just being traded out with Marines at the moment. Widowmine shot goes decently, and we're just going to back away. Big push to the bottom side, and we do not have a lot of Banes on the map. 11 Banelings. Hydras aren't ready yet. They're morphing in. I'm a little bit worried. I think this bottom side base goes down. Now, that is just a 5th hatchery, so it's not like a must kind of save, but it definitely sucks a little bit. Bane speed just not done. Clem splitting away and still pressing forward. So he's got, again, so many Hellbats to tank with, and that's the issue for Reynor, is that by the time his Banelings are done, there's still a ton of Marines left over. And there's still Hellbats left right now. The biggest issue Clem has is he's got no healing from the Medevacs because they're out of energy. They've been healing so many stims because he's stuck around for so long with this fight. He runs back in on the top, but the Queens will defend here, and Clem will have to back it up. He's finally going to get pretty much fully cleaned up. No speed on the Hydras means that this will not go any further than that. Clem takes a supply lead off the back of this. Some really good trades. He moves forward now, gets some creep spread. The Hellbats really helped there, just really providing a lot of value. Once again, auto turret just continuing to ping away. Only 5 kills, so to be fair, Reynor is dealing with the auto turrets very well, but it will be consistent mining time lost, and it's something that's just, again, an annoyance that you have to keep in mind. There's more Hydras coming through. Obviously, with this kind of pressure, you can't really think about the Hive and trying to get up into Lurkers as well. Also a factor. It's going to come back around the bottom side. So down we go. Widowmine's just going to be burrowing up and just going to be seeing a Hydra's continue to be picked away at. Widowmine's continuing to go off. I mean, this is Clem just continuing to push through. And it's just going to be seen as Zerglings continuing to melt. Queens and Hydras continuing to fall. Just going to see a couple of these Banelings dropping down also. I mean, there's just not enough Banelings here. Clem doesn't even have to target fire. As, oh, the Widowmine friendly fire is going to be the one thing that somewhat saves Reynor here, but a Widowmine drop kills 11 drones. And while the friendly fire might actually do a lot, it might still not be enough here, as Widowmines this time are going to unburrow and reburrow a second time because he's still afraid. And now finally goes off on a Queen. The Overseer trying to set up any other Widowmines here. As you pull a bit further back, Reynor will hold, but only just. Army down the right-hand side. Couple of drones continuing through. Hydras will get in auto turrets. It's just going to be still seeing now. It's coming back along. Squawk getting picked away at, and just going to be seeing our Marines going back and forth now. Going to grab a Hydra. Widowmine burrows up again. Again, Ling sets off a friendly fire there. There's just no Banelings here. 11 new ones are on the way. There's 1 or 2 in this army already. Reynor doesn't have enough, and Clem just rushes through to get the victory. Attempt 2 after the race mishap for the first load-in of Blackburn. Bottom right side, our blue Terran player from Team Liquid is going to be Clem. Bottom left-hand corner, our red Zerg from Clash is Reynor. Like I say, Clem just looking to move straight on through. Reynor would drop down to a qualifying section of the bracket if he loses here to the lower bracket, where there's a lot of ZvPs and stuff going on. I believe Harstam and Lambo, and I think a laser's in this section too. It's a very potential for a ZvZ qualifying match, which could be a little bit nasty perhaps. And just so we get this going, Skyv Gaming, just because this one doesn't stick around my dashboard later. Thank you so much for continuing your gifted sub. That's freaking amazing to read. Hell yeah, thank you so much for continuing the love. Appreciate it. Welcome to the Wardy fam. We're glad to have you. Welcome for an extended period, I guess. I guess you're already part of the Wardy fam, but you know what I mean. I wouldn't mind seeing this series be dragged out to another couple games. Because, you know, very rarely is Clem Reynor like a big stomp or something, but right now I feel like these first 2 games were fairly convincing. Yes, game 1 was a bit back and forth. Game 2 didn't feel like Reynor had a chance, honestly. Felt like Clem had control of it from the early stages, took some good fights repeatedly, and just traded very efficiently, and killed Reynor before he got anywhere meaningful. The creep spread was denied beautifully as well, was also a factor, definitely made it difficult for Reynor to keep moving around and responding to Clem's army movements as well, so yeah, just cool stuff in general, as we do see our Overlord poking in on the bottom side. Marine is there to start pushing that Overlord back out pretty much right away. NL Hunter 10, thank you so much for the Prime sub as well. And so many Primes lately, guys. I really appreciate all the love. Thank you for supporting the stream and helping us to keep on cranking out as much StarCraft 2 action as we can. Really appreciate it. And the one thing that was kind of painful was that friendly fire from the Widowmine. That's something Reynor's actually had successfully go his way for a few times lately against Clem. There was another game they played on Glitter and Ashes which had the exact same situation. I think that was ESL Open Cup 94 in the finals. And Clem was doing okay. He wasn't in a great spot on Glitter and Ashes, but he was doing fine. And then I think Overseers just blew up like 30 supply of his army with Widowmines. And that was it. The game was, at that moment, the game just ended. And it was like, what? It really just, it ended right there, and I was like, really? It was almost out of nowhere. I'm pretty sure it was ESL Open Cup 94 finals, but it's so tough to know. These two obviously play a pretty reasonable amount against each other, so tough one to call for sure. Zergling speed is on the way through. Just getting that ready to go. Couple Hellions coming out, Ling's on the way, Ling speed coming up. As we get this ready to continue in. They say Blackburn is a Terran map, but seems like I never see a Terran win it against Zerg. There's a lot of discussion about this. A lot of Terrans feel like it's a Zerg map. It's an interesting one. Obviously, you get a gold base as your fourth, which is pretty nice for Terran. But the Zerg can deny it from the other side quite nicely. That's why Roaches were actually pretty popular on this map for a while. I think the thing is in late game, is you can split the map very easily. And Terran, if they split the map like that, and there's only so many ways the Zerg can attack in, they can really control the map a lot with ghosts, etc. And if you can do that, it just feels like that benefits the Terran a lot. And it's not like a huge amount of ground you have to rotate between to deal with attacks. So dealing with like Zerg run-bys and stuff is not as much of an issue as on other maps. So it definitely feels a bit better for Terran in that regard. As the Hellions are going to run into trouble. Extra Lings are showing up from the top side, and they are not quite going to grab this around. New Hellions showing up as well. I mean, there's going to be a Marine drop into the main base, so as that goes on, there's not going to be a... Okay, Reynor knows about this, but he didn't see it until just now. He didn't get a rescout on it until just now. As Hellions still pinging around against Lings in the center. Not a lot of Queens over here, as now Lings do pour in better numbers. This will be enough to push this back in the end. It took a little while. Good control of these Hellions, just obviously trying to make sure your drop's alive and microing properly, etc. and looking for the most out of that while also keeping these Hellions alive. You do sometimes see it fall apart and everything goes wrong very quickly, but I'm staying on top of it in this case and not really letting that devolve into something it shouldn't. Not letting any chaos kind of spawn out of that. There's a couple of these racks still just coming on through. And a stim pack building up from Clem. Hellions press forward. Gonna go past a bit of creep spread here and just gonna see Lings splitting on either side. Oh, sets Lings are splitting on either side and sets up for that surround as that's brutal because now you're losing all your map control and now you're losing not just map control of course, but also the potential to defend run-bys more easily. One Queen from the backside is going to get this medevac lower, and that means that Clem can't stick around in the main base either, so it is really time to get out and be done with this for the moment. There's a couple of evolution chambers still coming into play on the natural. Sorry, is about to be finishing, and these Marines back into the low ground to pick away at a little bit of creep. Command just going to lift off and is going to make its way to the front. Going to take that third base. 1-1 upgrades coming through. Stim pack's already coming up. As our Orbitaler will land, a couple of racks are still on the way in as well. And just seeing Baneling's speed coming through. The Carapace upgrade coming in as well. All of this just continuing to settle down as our reactor begins on the barracks. We got a lot of this rallying out to the front setting up at the moment. So many Lings around the top side. Rebuilding from Clem and the natural wall-offs, just getting that completed as pushed through. A couple of these Marines continuing to drop. Down some creep spread. If he scans right now, there's a ton of creep he can kill. He is walking so far forward on creep, full run by into his natural. I feel like Clem just fell asleep at the wheel for a moment. Run by straight into his natural, doesn't clean any of the creep. He walked like 5 tumors deep. And just didn't do anything. And now these Lings can just escape to the top side. 9 SCVs, a ton of lost mine time, going to kill a depot as well. And you pull the entire attack of Clem back home, and now you've got your attack from Reynor just going to go into the natural, because Clem's still going to deal with a few Lings and then, on the third base, and then Clem's in the natural, and oh man. Well, this just fell apart really quickly. I don't know what Clem was doing. Like, I mean, it could have been even more disastrous. It felt like he genuinely would have lost that entire army had 4 Banelings rolled it on the left-hand side initially. But, yeah, just not sure what he was doing in that exact moment, but it's probably going to cost him the game because he got nothing of value on either side of the map, and yeah, now Reynor's going to keep the pressure on 2 different sides, and that's going to make this a tough one as we move on through, and I'm probably going to be forced into map 4 here. He's got a 1-1 upgrade lead for a few more moments, but he's going to lose so many SCVs. 13, 14 on this left side of your screen right now. That's on top of, well, okay, the base is down as well, so never mind. I was going to say on top of, like, the 20 from before, but with the third CC dead. Bottom left-hand corner, our blue Terran player. Team Liquid's Clem. Still leading 2-1, but loses Blackburn to a lapse in concentration, perhaps? I mean, it really ran out of... It just really went from nowhere, 0 to 100 real quick, huh? That's kind of wild. Top right, it is going to be our red Zerg player, Reynor. Hardware as a map, obviously been talking a lot about the maps today, and it's definitely one of the Zerg picks. Obviously, we have 2,000 atmospheres for map 5. Pride will have been the veto of Clem, and Reynor will veto Berlingrad. So Hardwire map 5, map 4, sorry. Good for Zerg because you kind of got a choice of left versus right bases to some extent, and honestly, feels like a bit of a larger map. It's funny, when Reynor first saw this map, we were on the Pylon show together discussing new maps, and you just remember him saying, I refuse to play ZvT on this. And yet here it is, the second Zerg map pick in the map pool. And some Zergs will use that to say, well, that means the map pool's not very good for Zerg, but this map has been good for Zerg, and I think a lot of the time if you lose momentum on this map, the Zerg just has the entire top side, and then you're playing a very long game against a Zerg who has a lot of rotating possibilities to hit you with big lurker strikes, etc. And then it becomes very difficult to stabilize from those sort of situations, right? So, yeah. Alright, Ling Speed coming up. That's going to be seeing a little bit grenade going down. Going to bop the Queen to the side, and just going to be seeing our Queen getting jing-jangled around at the front. Just going to be seeing our hatch coming in. Stopbolt going through as the Clem is going to switch it up a bit by going for the double gas rather than the single gas opening. So that's already a point of interest here. Something a little bit different as Reaper will take a shot at 2. Push back around into the center. Liberator will start, and it's just going to be Clem. So Hellion Lib, I mean, Hellion Lib into Stim was kind of Clem's bread and butter in TVZ for a long while. It's a bad dive. It's a bad dive because he actually had 2 free creep tumors kind of at the front there that he could have gotten instead. And honestly, I'm surprised that Hellion's alive at this stage to get into the mineral line anyway, and I'm not sure if it's even going to make a difference. He'll get 1 drone, and the Reaper can maybe make a play for number 2. I mean, 2 drones isn't terrible, but you lose 2 Hellions and the Reaper. The Lings are still dealing with this, while then Hellions go to the 3rd base, which if they'd been controlled a bit better, probably could have had that drone kill as well. Now you're going to take a bit more damage on these. Like I said, I think it wouldn't be terrible if he didn't just have the 2 creep tumors. These 2 tumors could be dead. Because Reynor spread them as Clem was running past, and if Clem just says, never mind, and goes and gets those tumors and backs away, I think that's way more value than trading out 2 Hellions and a Reaper for 2 drones for sure. Queens will continue up and just going to be seeing extra drones and Lings coming through. Hellions at the front still, trying to poke around and just trying to make their way forward. Queens to come in and Hellions are back around the left. I think I want to try and get some group spread. Get one queen already. It's going to tap as a queen or so going to take some damage. Again, just kind of looking around as Hellions pull back over to the right and just seeing the game obviously settling. This Liberator didn't find an opening yet, but what Clem is so good at is keeping that Liberator alive for as long as possible, and then he will finally find an opening a lot of the time. 1-1 starting, so Clem obviously can have the faster upgrades in a world in which Reynor shouldn't be too far behind. He's not opting for the faster lair, he's opting for the upgrades first, but then he starts the lair before he starts the upgrades, so it's going to be kind of a weird mix then, lair and Bane Nest. So his upgrades aren't even going to be super quick, but his lair isn't going to be fast either. That really scares me, because Clem's 1-1 push when he has got combat shields, etc. Clem is going to be pushing with 1-1 and all the other upgrades, and Reynor's not going to have upgrades, and he's not going to have Baneling speed. Usually you have one of those two for the first medevac push, and not having them scares me a lot. I actually think this could be really concerning, especially in a world where Clem still has all of his Hellions alive as well. I think that's a pretty big deal, too. Marines will grab that Overlord, and on the far right side, a group of Lings are just settling down for the moment. Marines pushing forward and just going to be seeing a bit of creep being cleaned out once again. So continuing forward with this and doing a pretty good job of it. Good amount of creep cleaned out, and the right hand side, I'm sure we can pick away at an Overlord here and maybe push through for that hatchery. Now there's a little Ling run by. Again, this is what Reynor's been very good at lately, just well-timed Ling run bys. I just don't know how you fight this, man. Not even a cancel on this base, by the way. No Bane speed, no upgrades. Reynor, what's the plan? Well, first Hellbats are going to tank these Banes. Last Baneling goes down, and now you can fight Clem. Maybe afraid of the Queen, so wants to move away. By the way, Liberator comes back later. 7 drone kills. The value of just keeping this going. I don't know. I feel like Clem could have sat here and fought. He's up 1-1 against 0-0. I feel like he maybe didn't even notice that he was up in upgrades because he saw no Bane speed. He expected the upgrades to be even. This is cute. Just going to drop on the corner and going to get rid of a couple of units. Nice little play there. Because now we hop up in toward the main base. Well, just going to load up, and I mean, already still a good trade for Clem, don't get me wrong. I just wonder if there was potential for more. Tough to say. Maybe if you kind of take that fight, the Queens do overwhelm. It's just not really actually that good for you. Time to Den is going to be finishing shortly as our +2 melee is going to be starting, and our other Marines wanting to run in from the right side. A couple of Banes getting picked away at. Back down at the right is just going to be seeing a few more creep tumors continuing to fall. And gets picked up, and an Overlord still just floating around overhead. We are going to lift up and go to the upper left side. Following down into the center, more Marines pressing forwards. Again to the middle here, and I mean a couple of Overlords that you could pick away at. Creep team is already taking shots as we go back and forth a little bit. Lift back up, and away we go. Marines unloading. Hey, drone's dead. Pressure from Clem just keeping up at the moment, doing a very good job of being everywhere. I love denying this space. Just keeping this base, and any creep from this sort of side means that Reynor's really shoehorned to the top left corner, and if you can't get creep past here, that means you can set up a bit of a setup just kind of down south from here and work your way into that base too. So, yeah, this base not being an option for Reynor is definitely hurting a bit, and Clem just doing great with these drops, keeping the action rolling. As on the left-hand side, we are going to get a Liberator sieging, make that another one. So a couple of libs just to back this up. Tank in range of the mineral line. We're going to start dropping to the high ground. Queens will want to deny that, but I think these medevacs can trade out with the medevacs in the back, although he actually took a little while. The tank hits the banelings. Now these queens are going to start struggling a bit. Clem's in the main, by the way, too. And soon he is going to have 2-2. I guess Reynolds 2-2 did catch up a little bit. Oh, but there goes the spawning pool. No more Zerglings for a little while. Well, at least he is on his way up into Hydras. Hydras, but of course, no infestation pit, no idea of going into a lurker den. You can't afford to with the pressure that you're under right now. As Clem is looking back to his old form, gets the momentum, gets into a good stage of the game, and just never lets up from that point on. Widowmine dropped 15 drones on the top side as well. Goodbye, see you later. And now Reynor might be able to get the right side base up at the cost of even just losing this base, right? I mean, Queens are going to transfuse and hold out here for a few moments. Bane's coming around. Marines are going to stim again. Widowmine shot onto the Queens. Pressing forward once more as a few Marines on the right side going to come back through, and just going to see Bane Hydra going to get attacked. Just a few Marines getting into the medevac. Widowmine still coming through from Clem. The Lib just going to siege up, make that another, and two of them just going to sit in the corner as our feelings and Bane still wanting to move on through. These Banes, oh, do get good connections. Clem a little slow to pull back and lift up. I'd say this would be fine for Reynor if he was on his way to lurkers. The problem is, he's struggling to get to lurkers, right? And that's going to be, I think, the biggest issue for him here. This is going to be massive Widowmine shots hitting center on the Ling Bane. I'm just going to see now Clem will just kite for a bit, load up what he can. He will lose a few units, and now he loses that full medevac. And still pressing through, and a couple of Queens being picked away at Hydra as well. All of these Lings down the bottom side. So the Baneling going down. Hydras do get across here, and a Widowmine gets picked off also. Bioforce setting up. Widowmines blowing up. Bane's taking a ton of damage. Clem just has too much. Reynor can't bust him. And Clem is going to qualify in the winner bracket. His first win against Reynor in a little while. And his TVZ has just been heating up again lately and looking fantastic once more.